Hello, my name is Steve Touchton, National Sales Manager for Weiss Fire Draft Commander. And today I have Matt Clark from Otero County, New Mexico. Welcome, Matt.
Steve, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. So I'm Matt Clark, Emergency Services Director for Otero County. Our county covers approximately 6,500 square miles, which is the equivalent to Connecticut and Rhode Island. Um, Vast geographic areas from the high desert plains at about 4,000 feet all the way up to the mountains at 9,000 feet or more. So a lot of area to cover and a lot of geographic changes that utilizing the draft commander really allows us to accomplish all our goals.
Otero County's got some unique geography to it. With that uniqueness must come challenges. How have you utilized the draft commander?
So NFPA requires pump testing annually. And if we want to get grants from the state fire marshal's office, we have to prove that we do our pump testing. Prior to that, we were trying to find ways to conserve the water. Obviously, running out of so many stations, pump testing previous was hit or miss with departments. We don't have the lakes or the rivers that we can draft out of and reclaim that water. So when Draft Commander came out, being able to have 3,000 gallons of water that we can recycle, reuse, it has really helped. And we've been able to make sure our entire fleet is pump tested annually now.
Your fleet of trucks, what do they consist of?
We have tenders, anywhere from 2,000 gallons to 5,000 gallons. Engines for structural firefighting, anywhere from a 500 GPM pump up to 2,000 GPM pumps. We do have a couple of ladders in our fleet, and then a bunch of Type 6 wildland trucks. We don't test the wildland trucks. The requirement for us to get grant money from the state is anything that has a pump of 500 gallons per minute or larger. So we focus on making sure that those are pump tested annually.
Having two draft commanders, do you have them strategically placed within your district?
No, having them strategically placed would be nice. I just don't have the room to house them and the fire trucks. So they are housed at my office where I can keep them both inside. But having two draft commanders, we are able to go out to a fire station, and instead of pump testing 2 trucks at a time, we can do 4 trucks at a time. Or when we're up into the 2,000 gallon trucks, we dedicate one draft commander just for those high flow trucks and still continue, which has drastically reduced our pump test times.
In New Mexico, your climate allows you to pump test nearly year round. Do you have a set time where you do that, or do you just do it as needed as the trucks come up for their annual inspection?
We just started a new program to help with that. Typically, we're normally testing in October, November, and December because the weather is cooler. The problem is up in the mountains, it's a lot colder, and we've been snowed on while we're pump tested, and that's just never fun. So this year we started all of our pump testing down in what we call the flatlands of Otero County. We're testing them in February and March. And then here in August, we'll go back up to the mountains and test them while it's still cooler and the snow hasn't started to fly. Down in Alamogordo, we could test year round, but today's temperatures are supposed to be 100 degrees. So we can't get a lot of use out of that water because it will heat up quickly because ambient temperatures are so high.
If you've had to test during the summer and you're conserving water, How have you been able to utilize the draft commander in cooling that water?
The draft commander keeps the water pretty cool. The first one kept it cool, and then the second one we can get more trucks out of it before it heats up to exceed temperature parameters. But what we'll try and do is really, when can we test? So we'll test early in the morning before the temperatures heat up, or we'll test towards the evening time. But for the most part, we're doing it first thing in the morning if we have to test when it's so hot. But that's one of the nice things about where we are at, is we have such different climates that as long as we don't wait till December to try and do everything, we have that year to play with so that we're not testing in this hot weather.
So before you had the draft commander, what was life like? And then when you got your draft commander, what was life like?
So before we had the draft commander, there were a lot of departments that just would not test because there was no way to recover the water, and pump testing requires a lot of water if you're just wasting it, spraying it back into the ground. So a lot of departments just didn't do it. Having the draft commander, we're able to tow the draft commander to the fire station and actually test on site, which gives us a truer picture of how is that pump performing. We have anywhere from elevations of 9,000 feet down to about 4,000 feet. And just that elevation difference is huge, over 5,000 feet. So being able to test at your station, you can see how it is actually performing. Is it drafting to its fullest potential at altitude, or do we have a problem? And we've been able to identify some of those problems that way.
Does every station in your district have a fire hydrant?
No, they do not.
For those stations that do not have a hydrant, how do you fill the draft commander?
So if we have just a small number of trucks to do, what we'll do is take the tender and we will fill the draft commander using the water out of the tender, so that when we're all done, we can recover that water and we're not actually losing anything. If we have a lot of trucks to do, which some departments we have 8 and 9 trucks to do, that we will fill it out of storage tanks that they have on site. And we do our best to try and recover the water. It just isn't always feasible as we're testing to do it. So losing 3,000 gallons, 6,000 gallons of water is bad when you're in a drought, but it's nothing compared to what we could be if we didn't have the draft commander to reclaim most of that water.
Have you used the draft commander for more than just your annual pump testing?
We have. There are some departments that have checked out the draft commander from my location and set it up. And what they've done is they've taken a tender, dump their porta tank so that they actually have to draft as we would do it in the field, draft into that, into a line that is feeding the draft commander, filling it up, and then taking another vehicle, another engine, and then drafting out of the draft commander and learning how it all plays together with your water source. And then, of course, the engineering aspect of utilizing the draft commander for flow back into it. How many PSI are you putting out, and making sure that you can run multiple lines at certain pressures to really help train that engineer, because they don't get a lot of that training, and having the draft commander gives us that opportunity to do that. And seeing it coming out of a porta tank going into the draft commander is just another tool that, the draft commander obviously is not there on the fire. So seeing how they would actually perform, and then being able to recycle all that water, we can pump for hours and not lose any water, which is a huge benefit down here.
Matt, I want to thank you for your time today. I want to thank you for your service in the U.S. military, and I want to thank you for your service to the Otero County Fire Department. And thank you for joining us today.
Steve, it was my pleasure. Thank you.